Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Imane Khelif, who won a gold medal in the women's boxing at the Olympics this year, is apparently going to turn professional. And this creates an obvious stink. It kind of resurrects the whole controversy around Khelif's participation in women's boxing because she or he or they or whatever the fuck the proper pronoun is, previously, prior to the Olympics, had failed a gender test with the IBA, who said, you're not a woman. You can't fight other women because you're not a woman. No. And then the IOC said, well, yeah, actually, you can, because it says on your passport that you're female. Right. Well, this was debated very briefly, only about 10 minutes, on talkSPORT today. Simon Jordan giving his two cents worth. Natasha Jonas was on the phone to him. There was another guy. Was it Catterall? I can't remember who the third person was. But anyway, Natasha was very sort of, well, this is a difficult area. She was walking on eggshells, perhaps because she didn't want to seem unkind to anyone, or you certainly don't want to be, branded as a bigot in any way, which is how a lot of criticism is silenced, because of the threat of bigotry or being branded a bigot. It's, a sort of form of McCarthyism, really, that type of treatment of any kind of dissent. But she may just feel, well, I don't know enough about the subject, the biology involved. I don't know about Imane Khelif's biology, so I can't really say too much. Whereas Simon Jordan was the opposite. He says Imane Khelif has got XY chromosomes, therefore he's a man. No grey area here at all. Should not be allowed to fight women. End of chat. Okay, well, let's unpack this a little bit, because if Imane Khelif was a trans boxer, that is to say, born full biologically male, who then had what basically amounts to cosmetic surgery, that is to say, castration, whatever they call a fake vagina, hormone treatment, breast implant, any of that stuff, then I would say absolutely I'm with Jordan, because I've never ever bought into the idea that trans women are women and trans men are men. No, they're not. If they were, we wouldn't be having this debate. There is an obvious difference, and I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with being a trans man or a trans woman. You do your thing. It's not. I don't care what other people do. What I do care about is when people try to tell me that black is white, up is down, and night is day. And that I have to go along with, the sort of pretense, the fantasy, simply because you identify as something. So, no, I would be on Jordan's side. I'm absolutely opposed to this whole idea of, trans women, in inverted commas, fighting women. I don't. By the way, I don't hold with this prefix cis, CIS. It's a pretty bullshit term, made up term, which is purely designed to sort of muddy the waters of language. There are trans women and there are women. There are trans men and there are men. Cis doesn't even exist in my world, okay? So bollocks to that. So that, I would agree with Jordan if we were talking about a trans athlete, but we're not, because Imane Khelif is an intersex. From what we gather, is not a transsexual. She, he, whatever, is a someone with male and female characteristics, and this is called DSD. Differences in sexual development. Now, what this can mean is that you might have XY chromosomes, and yet you may have, ovaries, or you may have XX chromosomes. You could have male sex organs. You may have. The whole gamut of differences of permutations here is just so vast that. The point is, try and keep this as short as I can, because I'm certainly not medically trained, even though I've read a fair bit about it during the Olympics, just to sort of brush up on it, so that I had a vague idea what I was talking about. The issue is one, obviously, of safety. Okay, that is the reason why I don't believe transgender women should fight women, or transgender men should fight men is because it's one of safety. I don't care what you identify as; it doesn't count. You know, I can identify as a handsome 27-year-old who, you know, it ain't going to happen. Because you know why? Because it's not true. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, it's if you have X chromosomes, okay, but your male characteristics are so prominent that they give you an unfair advantage over women who are completely XX chromosomes and have no biological male characteristics, then that would be unfair. Likewise, if you have, well, obviously, you might have possibly you have XY chromosomes, which hints you're a male, but you actually don't have an unfair advantage over women because, you know, your female biological characteristics may sort of invalidate that. You know, now Simon Jordan was saying if you've got XY chromosomes, you're a man. Okay. Well, to be honest with you, I don't know enough about biology to say whether that is the definition. But I don't see how that can be if biologists, that is to say the people who are experts in this field and spend their whole careers and if not their lives studying this subject, if they dispute that, you know, or if they say, well, there is something that's kind of a cross section in intersex, you know, the sort of intersex, not a third sex, but a mixture of the two. I mean, don't forget, we're talking, you know, about genes, hormones, reproductive organs, all this stuff comes into it. And biologists say, well, it's not quite as clear cut, even though we are talking about a very, very small percentage of people. Some people do have both male and female characteristics. And therefore, in terms of boxing, it must surely be, the bottom line is, does someone have an unfair advantage because their male characteristics, even though they may be XX chromosomes, their male characteristics are giving them that unfair advantage, you know, because ultimately, I don't think any of us, as much as we are lovers of boxing, none of us, well, not if you're a sane person, you don't want to see boxers seriously hurt. We all like a tear up and a punch up, but, you know, the referee's in there for a reason, so that they don't kill each other. And he or she has to step in and stop the fight if necessary. Well, how about we sort of help out the referee? How about we help out the sport by saying that, look, this is okay, we understand there's potentially a biological grey area, but at the same time, we're not going to, you know, we're going to put health and safety first. I mean, God knows we live in a modern world where health and safety is prominent in things that are seem entirely innocuous. With something like boxing or any other combat sport, you'd think that this is a given. But of course, some people do have an agenda. They do want some of us to believe that, you know, what one identifies as is all that matters. But of course it is. And in fact, it's not remotely important when it comes to something like boxing. It is what you are. In fact, it's not remotely, what you identify as is completely irrelevant when it comes to sport, not just boxing. And the idea that, I mean, don't forget Khelif and the Taiwanese boxer as well, both of them who both won gold medals at the Olympics, by the way. They both failed gender tests for the World Championships. And those tests were conducted by the IBA, the International Boxing Association. And the IOC just overlooked that totally and said, no, you can come on in. You know, as Simon Jordan pointed out, I mean, look, I'm not a fan of Simon Jordan, but he pointed out, look, he's saying, well, they only let them into the Olympics because it said that they were female on their passports. And he went down the whole route of, well, this is just a sort of woke organisation and the IOC, and, you know, that may or may not be true. I don't know. We live in very stupid, idiotic times when it comes to that sort of thing. You know, what they call woke culture. I can't stand that fucking word woke. But to me, I know what is meant by it. I think it gets misused and abused frequently to mean things that it shouldn't mean. But at the same time, I'm old enough to remember when political correctness reared its head, and that was ugly enough. I think woke culture is a sort of bastard child of political correctness. And yes, it is a vile thing, but whether the International Olympic Committee is woke or not, I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. What I do care about is the welfare of boxers. And Jordan, even though he was absolutely clear-cut, even called Khelif, he. This is a man, I'm calling him he. I'm not using the preferred pronouns. I mean, I hate all that pronoun crap as well and all this non-binary bullshit. All of that stuff is just a load of shit to me, right? But we're not talking about a transgender fighter. We're talking about someone who's intersex. So there may be a grey area that needs addressing. Obviously, you want to be fair to everyone. I still find it very, very strange that Khelif was allowed to fight in the women's tournament at the Olympics when she had failed in the IBA's gender test previously. And it's quite amusing because people say, yes, but the IBA is such a corrupt organisation and blah, blah, blah. It's the Russian. The Russians are all bent, all these amateur Russian things. What, you think the IOC is Snow White? You think the IOC is squeaky clean? You think the IOC isn't a corrupt organisation to some degree? Have a think about that. Maybe it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So if you're sceptical of one, I would strongly advise to be sceptical of the other as well. But taking people as individuals, as we should, when it comes to intersex fighters, I mean, I think they should go through stringent tests, certainly, to make sure they do not have any kind of unfair advantage. But if it is decided in an objective way that they do have an unfair advantage, it doesn't matter what you identify as. You're not fighting women if you've got an unfair advantage. In other words, if your male characteristics are so prominent that you are endangering female fighters. And people say, yes, but Khelif has lost to women in the past, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, maybe that does hint that there's a grey area. I don't know. That's why we need to have a debate about it. So, yeah, in conclusion, I mean, when it comes to transgender boxers, nope. Intersex boxers, all right, perhaps we should take each case as it arrives, but not to the point where we're going to, but at no point should we cut any corners. At no point just because someone says I identify as something, I don't give a fuck what you identify as. There's the fantasy world and there's the real world. And guess what? Combat sports, when you've been punched in the face, in the head trauma, so on and so forth, cut eyes, broken ribs, broken jaws, broken noses, that's based in the real world, If you've got a broken jaw and a broken nose or a brain bleed, try convincing yourself that you identify as someone who hasn't got those injuries. See how far you get. Go to the hospital. What's the first thing they will ask you? Is this a man or a woman? So we shouldn't let ideology override fact, basically, because ideology counts for nothing in the face of facts. There are facts and ideology should be based around facts, not in spite of facts. So, just my thoughts. What do you think? What's your opinion? It's a controversy that's again reared its head. But let me know what you think. And if you agree with me, you agree with me. If you don't, you don't. I don't mind. Anyway, thanks for your time as always. I always appreciate you watching the vids. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button as well. And we shall speak again soon. Bye for now.